Late one stormy night, Tom was driving home after a long shift, fatigue weighing heavily on him. The rain pounded against his windshield as he navigated the winding country road, the headlights barely cutting through the thick darkness. Suddenly, he spotted a young woman standing alone at the side of the road, drenched and shivering. Her white dress clung to her, ghostly in the dim light. Feeling a surge of compassion, Tom slowed down and rolled down his window. "Need a lift?" he called out, his voice nearly swallowed by the storm. The woman nodded, stepping into the car without a word. As Tom drove, he glanced over at her, hoping to break the silence, but she simply stared blankly out the window, rain streaking the glass like tears. A chill ran down his spine when he noticed something odd. Her reflection was completely absent. Panic gripped him. He shook his head, trying to rationalize what he was seeing. Maybe the glass was just foggy from the rain. But as he looked back, she was still staring, her expression blank and lost. He pulled over, his heart racing. "Are you okay?" he asked, turning to face her. But as he did, she vanished into thin air, leaving only the faint scent of wet earth in her wake. Dazed, Tom fumbled with his phone to call anyone, but his hands trembled too much to dial. The next day, curiosity and dread propelled him to the local library, where he searched for news articles about the road. What he found chilled him to the bone. A girl matching her description had died in a car accident at that very spot years ago. The more he read, the more he learned about her tragic story the night she was lost, the rain, the way she had been waiting for someone to save her. From that day on, Tom avoided that road at all costs, haunted by the girl he couldn't rescue and the ghostly reminder that sometimes the past lingers longer than we can bear. Days turned into weeks, but Tom couldn't shake the haunting image of the girl from his mind. He found himself driving during the day, avoiding that stretch of road entirely. Yet every night, he'd wake from restless dreams, the girl's hollow eyes staring at him, pleading for something he couldn't understand. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Tom sat in his living room, trying to distract himself with a movie. But the flickering screen couldn't drown out his thoughts. He felt an overwhelming urge to return to the road, to confront whatever had happened that night. It was as if the girl was calling to him, begging for resolution. Finally, he gathered his courage. He decided to drive back to the spot where they had met. The air was thick with tension as he approached the familiar bend in the road. The headlights illuminated the wet pavement, and for a moment, he felt a strange sense of calm. As he parked, memories flooded back. Her expression, the way she had vanished. With a deep breath, he stepped out of the car and walked to the shoulder. The rain had stopped, but the air was heavy with humidity, thick like the silence that surrounded him. "Is anyone there?" he called out, his voice trembling. The woods rustled softly, but there was no response. Just as he turned to leave, he felt a cold breeze sweep past him, sending shivers down his spine. He glanced over his shoulder and saw something out of the corner of his eye. A fleeting shadow, like a wisp of smoke, drifting toward the road. His heart raced as he followed the movement. It led him to a small clearing, where a weathered wooden sign creaked in the wind, *Memorial for Lost Souls Star. Tom squinted at the plaque, reading the names of those who had died in tragic accidents over the years. The last name sent chills through him. Emily Hart, the girl from the night he had picked up the hitchhiker. Suddenly, he heard a soft voice, almost a whisper. "Help me, please." It was her voice, ethereal and distant. "Emily?" he called out, desperation creeping into his tone. "What do you need?" The wind picked up, swirling leaves around him, and he felt a presence, her spirit, urging him forward. Tom knew he had to dig deeper, to uncover the truth of her fate. He returned to his car and pulled out his phone, searching for anything related to the accident. As he scrolled through articles, one particular headline caught his eye. "Local Girl's Tragic Death. A Search for Closure." The article detailed Emily's last night, her hopes and dreams, and the desperate plea she had made before the crash. According to the story, she had been trying to get to a nearby party, a celebration she had been excited about but never made it to. Tom's heart raced as he read about the friends she had planned to meet. They were still searching for answers, still grieving. He felt a strange connection, as if Emily's spirit was guiding him toward them. Driven by an impulse he couldn't explain, he decided to visit her friends. He found them at a small cafe, laughing and reminiscing, but their eyes held a lingering sadness. As he approached their table, he hesitated, feeling the weight of the truth he was about to share. "Excuse me," he said, clearing his throat. I think I can help you find some closure about Emily." The group fell silent, eyes widening in shock. One girl, a close friend named Sarah, leaned forward, her expression a mix of hope and skepticism. "What do you mean?" Tom took a deep breath, recalling that night, the cold rain, and the haunting figure beside the road. He told them everything. How he had picked Emily up, how she had vanished, and how he had found her name on the memorial. As he spoke, he noticed Sarah's eyes glisten with unshed tears. "She was always so lost after that night," Sarah said, her voice trembling. "We thought she was just gone, but we never really had a chance to say goodbye." Tom felt a strange shift in the air, a presence that seemed to pulse with energy. He looked around, as if expecting to see Emily appear before them. The air grew heavier, charged with emotion, and he knew they were on the brink of something profound. "Maybe she's still trying to reach out to us," Tom suggested, his voice barely above a whisper. "What if we hold a vigil, light some candles, and share our memories of her? She deserves that." The group exchanged glances, a mix of uncertainty and hope in their eyes. Finally, Sarah nodded, determination igniting her expression. "Let's do it. For Emily." As they made plans for the vigil, Tom felt a sense of purpose wash over him. Perhaps he could finally help her find peace. But deep down, he couldn't shake the feeling that something dark still lingered, something connected to the accident, something that might not let Emily go so easily. The night of the vigil arrived, and as they gathered at the roadside memorial, the atmosphere was thick with emotion. Candles flickered in the soft breeze, illuminating the faces of those who loved her. Tom's heart raced as he sensed a presence around them, a tingling energy that made the hair on his arms stand up. As they shared stories and laughter, the air grew colder, and he felt a sudden chill sweep through the gathering. The lights flickered, and for a fleeting moment, he saw a figure at the edge of the woods, a faint outline, a girl in a white dress, watching them. "Emily?" he whispered, his breath visible in the cool air. And then, the ground trembled slightly beneath them, as if the earth itself was responding to their call. Tom knew they were just beginning to unravel the mystery of her tragic fate, but the question lingered. What else was waiting for them in the shadows? Don't forget to subscribe and like if you liked this story. The figure at the edge of the woods seemed to flicker like a candle flame in the wind, barely perceptible yet undeniably there. Tom's heart pounded as he watched it, caught between disbelief and a desperate yearning to connect. The vigil participants were lost in their memories, unaware of the spectral presence lurking just beyond their circle of light. "Is everyone okay?" Sarah's voice broke through Tom's thoughts, her brow furrowed with concern as she glanced around. "Yeah, we're good," Tom replied, forcing a smile, but his eyes never left the shadowy figure. The air felt charged with anticipation, and he sensed that Emily was somehow part of this moment. As the stories continued, each one more heart-wrenching than the last, the wind picked up again, causing the candles to flicker violently. A few of the attendees shivered, casting nervous glances at one another. "Did anyone else feel that?" one of them asked. Tom nodded, his gaze still fixed on the figure. He felt compelled to go closer. "I'll be right back," he said, moving away from the group, careful to stay within the circle of light. With each step, the air grew heavier, almost electric. The shadow shifted slightly, as if aware of his presence. "Emily?" he called softly, his voice barely rising above the rustling leaves. As he approached, the figure solidified, and he could make out the details of her dress, the same white fabric, now damp and torn at the edges. "Help me?" The whisper came again, clearer this time, laced with a mixture of sorrow and urgency. "What do you need?" Tom asked, stepping into the darkness beyond the candles. The moment he crossed the threshold of light, the atmosphere shifted, and he felt an overwhelming sadness wash over him. The apparition pointed toward the road, her expression one of deep longing. Tom's heart sank as he followed her gaze. It was then he realized. She wasn't just looking at the road, she was trying to lead him somewhere, to reveal something hidden. "What happened that night?" he murmured, but Emily's gaze was fixed, pleading for him to understand. Suddenly, a loud crack of thunder erupted overhead, startling him. He stumbled back a step, but when he looked up, Emily had moved closer, her eyes filled with an intensity that froze him in place. "Tom!" Sarah's voice broke through the tension. "Where are you?" He turned, realizing he had wandered too far. I'm coming," he called back, torn between the spirit's plea and his friend's worried voices. Just then, he noticed something glinting at the edge of the road, a small object half buried in the mud. It caught the light from the vigil, shining like a beacon. Without thinking, he stepped toward it, reaching down to pull it free. It was a silver bracelet, intricately designed, the kind that might have been a cherished gift. His stomach twisted as he recognized it. A piece of jewelry he had seen in the photographs of Emily that her friends had shared. "Tom!" Sarah shouted again, her voice more insistent now. He clutched the bracelet tightly, turning back to the group. "I found something!" he exclaimed, excitement and dread mingling in his chest. As he approached, he could see the astonishment on their faces. "That's hers," Sarah gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. "Where did you find it?" "Right here," Tom said, gesturing toward the spot by the road. "I think she wants us to know something. We need to figure out what happened." But before they could process his words, the wind howled again, stronger this time, and the candles flickered wildly. A shadow seemed to pass over them, darkening the clearing, and for a split second, the temperature dropped so low that they could see their breath. "What's happening?" someone shouted, panic creeping into their voices. "Stay calm," Tom urged, gripping the bracelet tightly. "We need to focus. She's trying to communicate with us." As he looked around, he realized that Emily wasn't just a specter. She was a bridge between their grief and the truth. He turned back to the road, the bracelet glinting ominously in his hand. "Emily, show us what we need to see." The atmosphere crackled, and suddenly the ground beneath them shifted again. A low rumble echoed from the woods, and the air vibrated with a strange energy. The shadow reappeared, this time more defined. Emily's figure emerged, eyes wide, mouth moving as if trying to say something, but the wind stole her words. It was as if she were trapped between worlds, longing to break free. Then, with a sudden flash of clarity, Tom realized he wasn't just an observer. He was part of this unfolding mystery. "We need to dig deeper," he declared. "If she's showing us something, we have to follow it." The group hesitated, but he could see their resolve hardening. They had come to honor Emily, and now it was time to uncover the truth that had eluded them for so long. "Let's go back to the spot where I found the bracelet," he said, rallying them. "Maybe it will lead us to what happened that night." As they moved closer to the road, the wind whispered around them, carrying fragments of Emily's voice. The tension was palpable, and every step felt like crossing an invisible threshold. Together, they stood at the edge of the pavement, scanning the area for any signs, any clues that might reveal the truth. Just then, one of the friends, a tall guy named Mark, spotted something glimmering under a nearby bush. "What's that?" he shouted, rushing over. Tom followed closely, heart pounding with anticipation. As they cleared the branches, their breaths caught in their throats. It was a crumpled piece of fabric, stained and muddy, but unmistakably part of a dress. This could be hers," Sarah whispered, tears welling in her eyes. Suddenly, the ground trembled again, and the air thickened with an urgency that sent chills down their spines. Tom could feel the pull of something dark lurking beneath the surface, something that had kept Emily bound to this place. "What if there's more?" Tom said, glancing at his friends, determination lighting his gaze. What if we're close to uncovering what really happened that night? With renewed focus, they began to search the area more thoroughly, driven by the belief that they could finally set Emily free. But as they worked, a sense of dread loomed over them, hinting that whatever had ensnared her spirit wasn't ready to be uncovered just yet. And as they dug deeper, uncovering the truth might just awaken something far more sinister. As they rummaged through the underbrush, Tom's heart raced. He could feel Emily's presence surrounding them, a mixture of hope and unease. The darkness that loomed felt alive, as if it were watching their every move. "Tom, look at this." Sarah's voice broke through the tension. She held up a small piece of paper, weathered and yellowed, almost hidden beneath a clump of grass. It looked like a driver's license. "Is it hers?" Tom asked, moving closer. With trembling hands, Sarah turned it over, and their breaths caught again. "It is. It's Emily's." Beneath the photo, scribbled in shaky handwriting, were the words, "Asterisk, help me find peace. I didn't mean to leave." Asterisk. As they read, a sudden gust of wind swept through the clearing, causing the candles to flicker violently. It felt as if the air itself was charged with energy. Tom's instincts screamed that they were nearing a revelation, but something darker stirred in the shadows. "Wait," Mark said, glancing around, his voice dropping to a whisper. "What if we're not alone?" Tom felt the hairs on the back of his neck stand up. It was true. The atmosphere had shifted, turning heavier, thicker with a palpable tension. "Focus on Emily," Tom urged. "She needs us to finish this." With determination, they continued to search the area. They soon found fragments of more clothing, a piece of fabric, a broken shoe. It was as if the ground had been disturbed, hiding the remnants of a tragic accident that had never been fully revealed. Suddenly, Sarah gasped. "There's something else." She pulled aside a tangle of roots, revealing a small, rusted locket. Tom knelt beside her, his heart pounding. "Open it." As Sarah carefully pried it open, a faint glimmer caught the light. Inside were two pictures. One of Emily and her friends, laughing together at the party she'd wanted to attend, and another of a man Tom didn't recognize, his expression dark and unsettling. "Who is this?" Tom wondered aloud. "Maybe he was involved in the accident," Sarah suggested, her voice shaking. Just then, a low rumble echoed through the trees, and a cold wave washed over them. Tom felt it, an oppressive force stirring in the air. "We have to keep going," he said, urgency rising in his voice. "We're close to understanding what happened." As they pressed deeper into the woods, they felt Emily's spirit guiding them. With every step, the air thickened, and shadows danced just beyond the reach of their light. Finally, they reached a small clearing where the trees parted. There, the remnants of a forgotten roadside memorial lay scattered, faded flowers and candles long extinguished. At the center stood a small stone marker, half buried in the ground. Tom approached it, heart pounding. The stone bore Emily's name, but beneath it were two additional names, linked by a tragic date. These are the people in the other car," he murmured, realization dawning. "Emily wasn't alone," Mark said, dread creeping into his voice. She collided with them." Just then, the air crackled again, and Tom felt a chilling presence close in. "We need to honor all of them," he urged, remembering Emily's plea. "They deserve to be remembered." Gathering around the memorial, they lit candles and placed them at the base of the stone. "We're here for you," Tom said, his voice steady despite the growing darkness. "We won't let your story be forgotten." As the flames flickered in the cool night air, a soft glow enveloped the clearing. Tom closed his eyes, focusing on Emily, willing her to feel their presence. "We're listening. Please, show us what we can do to help." For a moment, the wind hushed, and an eerie stillness settled around them. Then, the candles flickered as a soft voice filled the air, echoing through the trees. "Thank you for remembering." The shadows danced, swirling around them, but instead of fear, Tom felt a profound sense of peace. The air lightened, and Emily's figure appeared before them, clearer than ever, a serene smile gracing her lips. "Now I can rest," she whispered, her voice like a gentle breeze. As her spirit began to fade, the oppressive darkness lifted, replaced by a warm glow. The group stood in awe, tears streaming down their faces. But this time, they were tears of relief. They had helped her find closure. In that moment, the bond they shared with Emily, and the others lost that night, became a powerful reminder of love and loss. When they finally returned to the vigil site, they found the clearing bathed in soft moonlight, the darkness no longer oppressive but tranquil. They shared stories, laughter, and tears, celebrating Emily's life and the lives of those who had been lost. And though they would never forget the tragedy, they also carried forward the legacy of friendship and remembrance, binding them together in a way that even the shadows could not sever. Tom knew he would return to that road one day, not out of fear, but to honor Emily and the truth they had uncovered together, a truth that would echo through the years, guiding others who might find themselves lost along the way. Don't forget to subscribe and like if you liked this story.